It really was standing room only, as a huge crowd gathered at the Cresco Country Club in Cresco for the 44th annual awards banquet for the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame. And what a class they had. 2 coaches and 2 wrestlers. Jason Kelber, Robert Kenny, David Ripley, and Tolly Thompson, all inducted into the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame, now 108 strong. Dennis Merrick of Prodovan is the chairman of the Hall of Fame committee, and he served as the MC.
Look those guys to be recognized, along with myself, Don Gooder, and you guys can please stand up. Don Gooder, Jerome Vushka, Steve Slifka, Merle Sovereign, Chuck Curtis, Jim Truwald, and Tom Fye. That's our local board.
Jason Kelber, who wrestled for West Marshall High School and State Center, was the first to be introduced to the crowd. He was a 3-time state champion when undefeated his sophomore, junior, and senior seasons, and went on to a great career at the University of Nebraska. And Kelber talked about the tough competition he faced.
You reminded me, start off with opponents. I did have some great opponents, and they motivated me to train harder. And it reminds me of a line from a Jeremiah Johnson movie. I don't know if some of you know this or not, but the old man was talking to the greenhorn, and he said, sometimes the tribe's greatness is measured on how mighty his enemies be. And it has something to say about my career too. I did have some guys to beat that were pretty salty, and we had some go-rounds, and it was fun, every one of them. And I've always been one to love to compete in those big matches, and when the lights were on at the end of the year.
2 coaches were inducted into the Hall of Fame, including Robert Kenny, who coached several places, including Emmetsburg. He had 6 state champion teams and 2 state dual meet title teams. Kenny had a 289 and 123 record. What a record and an outstanding career he had.
Just feel you're doing what you love your whole life. You always wanted to do something, and you know what? It doesn't matter really if you win state titles or you don't win state titles. It's what you teach kids. Do you teach them to make weight, or you say, oh man, you're a quarter over close enough, and that's the way of life. Either they're going to be men or they're not.
The other coach inducted was David Ripley. He coached at Riceville for 33 years and also helped a lot of people get started in coaching, including Jim Miller, who recently retired as the winningest coach in Division III history. Miller, of course, from Wartburg. He presented Ripley to the crowd and talked about taking his first job as a wrestling coach in Riceville.
And I just said, okay, where's Riceville? And it was the best decision I made, because I learned what coaching was all about. I thought coaching was teaching moves. That's the only thing I was good at that time. And I had no idea what really running a wrestling program was all about, and also learned that it's not just a wrestling program. You try to build a wrestling family.
And Ripley came on and thanked the Hall of Fame committee for getting it all going over 40 years ago in Cresco.
Congratulate the founders of this hall, going clear back to 1970. It keeps the history and the stories of Iowa wrestling alive, and I think we all need to know, where we came from. So maybe we'll have an idea where we're going.
Well, the heavyweights always go last, and at the Hall of Fame induction, it was no different, as Tolly Thompson of Janesville, who they made a big deal that he never won a state championship. He did finish second twice, but he went on to an outstanding career at the University of Nebraska and internationally after that. And Thompson talked about Iowa and thanked Iowa.
I want to thank the state of Iowa. Growing up here, It's a confidence thing. It's an identity thing. You develop a deep passion, almost an arrogance, I think, being from Iowa. There's something about it. I don't know what it is. I'd like to shove it down every other state in the U.S.
Well, there you have it. 2013, the 44th year of induction into the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame. David Ripley of Charles City, 33-year coach at Riceville. Tolly Thompson, who prepped at Janesville. Robert Kenny of Osage originally and on to Mason City. And Jason Kelber, now of Valentine, Nebraska, who prepped at State Center, West Marshall. For WDDnews.com, I'm Randy Novotny.